Hi, it's Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. So here we are in whatever week this is of the economic shutdown, and the effects of it continue to ripple through our our neighborhoods, and our economy. And I want to talk to you about a movie that my wife and I watched this week, which I think has a point to be made for us as to what we are called to be doing in the midst of all of this. I think, like a lot of people, we're spending more time watching movies. I know that we're watching a couple a week on Netflix or on Prime. And we saw a movie the other day called Run Boy Run. This is the second film that we've seen recently about the plight of Jewish families in Europe as the Nazis invaded. And the parents were faced with this horrible dilemma of trying to save their children by basically sending them off with people or to run into the woods and try to fend for themselves and make it to freedom. There's this poignant time in this movie when this father grasps his son, who's maybe 12 years old. They're about to be separated. They will never see each other again. And he earnestly tells his son, "You must be strong. Show no fear. Never show fear, and never forget who you are." And they get separated, and this boy runs off into the forest onto this journey, really evading the Nazis from that time until the end of the war, which is a long time, as you know. Um, the thing that is so unique about this, the character of this child, was his amazing strength and resolve and the ability to carry on basically by himself, on his own, fending for himself for years until the end of the war. And what what was amazing as well, you have this child along with other children who were like him, wandering through the forest, but going from farm to farm, from community to community, knocking on doors, asking for food, asking for the opportunity to work to earn food, looking for the opportunity for maybe a night shelter. And people had a choice to make. Many people simply shut the door and didn't want to deal with another kid that's wandering through the woods this way. But many people responded. You know, they opened their door, they fed this child, they opened their homes, they let him stay for them for a period of time. And they fully knew at the time that doing so was going to risk not only their lives, but everything they owned, because the Nazis were depicted as coming into these farms. And if they were hiding Jewish children, they would simply burn the place down, shoot all the livestock, and move on. So they knew the consequences of what they were doing to try to aid this child, and yet they did it anyway, which is kind of the amazing part of the story as well. This child survived this period of time because people who had an opportunity to act took the time and acted. You know, this is one of those films where you actually get to see the little boy as a grown man. Made it through the war, went to college, ended up moving to Israel in 1962, and you saw him with his family and his grandchildren. It was quite an amazing story. And I was thinking, so what about this story sort of resonates with me is we have an opportunity right now because the consequences of this economic shutdown are rippling through our communities. Many of us don't necessarily spend time with, run into, or around people who are being devastated because of their inability to work through no fault of their own. They can't go to work. They're not getting a paycheck. We hear about all the government stimulus. Some of that reaches down to some of them, some of it doesn't. There are millions of families and many people in our local communities who haven't worked, who had nothing to fall back on, who cannot feed their families. They cannot pay rent. Can you imagine this sense of looking at your children and being unable to give them the basic food they need for the day? And so what's happening is that they are turning to wherever they can turn for help. Talk to someone in a local church. Talk to someone in the Salvation Army, the food banks. These people are calling, they're showing up. I know in our particular church, um, they cannot keep up with supplying perishable goods that are needed by families. They're really doing two things. They're giving bags of perishable foods. They're trying to give people enough for a week of food at a time, at least, but also then a gift certificate for $20 or something for Publix so that they can get fresh milk and eggs and produce and fruit. Just like the families that took a risk and helped this little boy, we have an opportunity to help someone. Let's take that opportunity. Let's make a difference. Let's change the world around us. It's really within our grasp to do so. And when you help people, it makes you feel really strong. And I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you'll step out and take action like I'm suggesting. I'd love to hear from you. I'm Jim Dodson, the Florida Bike Guy. Let's get through this together.